Hey guys, welcome back to ATL Skills Development. Today I'm going to be talking to you about thinking skills. So these are some thinking skills that I have learned before the personal project and ones that I learned during the personal project. I'm going to be explaining what they are and why they are important. Let's start off with the ones I learned before the personal project. The first one is recognize tacit assumptions and biases. As we all know, many people are biased. There are many tacit assumptions that run around the world. An example would be when a company is trying to sell you a product. There is a tacit assumption that by using this product, you are going to get happiness. It is not always stated, but it is implied. This is why it is a tacit assumption. And biases as well. When historians write a report or something, there might be a case of bias. It is important for you to recognize this bias because it helps you in your research. When you are evaluating the source, you can properly say that this source is not going to be the best for me because it is biased. Or you could evaluate it even further using the implied meaning that this has. Secondly, interpret data. Interpreting data would be simply just understanding what its core elements are. Let's say you have a data in front of you about infant mortality rates versus the GDP of a country. It's very simple for you to interpret the data. Let's say you have a graph of that data. All you have to say is that graph increasing or decreasing and why so? So you have to draw a conclusion from whatever you are seeing. That's simply what interpreting data is. It is important, of course, because if you have a data set in front of you, you want to know what and why that data set is the way it is. So when you're interpreting it, you are understanding it and analyzing it even further. Thirdly, create metaphors and analogies. So this one is a very important part of communication. Let's say you wanted to communicate with someone properly and you wanted to make them understand something that's not very easy to do in normal English. For example, instead of saying the person is mean or the person is cruel, you could say he has a cold heart. It increases the depth of your perspective of that person. This also makes you think. Metaphors, analogies are not easy things to come up with. They require a lot of thinking skills, and this is what this skill is going to help you do. Finally, change the context of research to see things from another angle. It is possible that when you get a data set, you are not always getting the full information. For example, during the Cold War, there were many instances when the US hid information from its citizens about the Soviet Union. This is a bias, and it is important for historians to search for both sides of the information. Let's say that historians only listen to the Soviet Union or only to the United States about the Cold War. What would be in our history textbooks would be very different. This is why it is important for us to analyze both sides and to change our context of the search so that we can understand where both sides are coming from and then draw a conclusion. Now, let's get into the skills I have developed during the personal project. First one, analyzing concepts and complex projects by breaking them down in different parts and synthesizing them in order to acquire a new understanding. This might look complex, but it is actually quite simple. Let's separate it. Analyze concepts and complex projects. That is simply to divide it up and to understand what you are dealing with. Let's say it's a concept of change. It's a wide concept and we need to analyze it deep. What part of change are we talking about? Why is there change? And so on and so forth. After breaking them down into different parts, we then need to synthesize them in order to acquire a new understanding. Let's say we stick to the topic of change. In this topic, we see what is the meaning of change, why people change, what are the forms of change. We have analyzed the concept of change. Now we need to synthesize it all together to get a better understanding of it. Because ultimately, we want to get the most understanding we can from a source. Second, propose and evaluate various solutions. It is possible that you come up with numerous solutions for a problem. For example, global warming. There are numerous solutions. Some are renewable energy, some are eco-friendly cars, and some even suggest reducing carbon emissions completely. Of course, these are all solutions proposed, but we must evaluate them. There are pros and cons to each of these solutions, and by analyzing and evaluating them even further, we get a better understanding so that we can draw the best conclusion for this problem. Thirdly, consider several possibilities, including those that seem unlikely or impossible. As humans, we always consider the easy possibility, things that are accessible to us. We don't focus on the things that are impossible or are difficult to do. But this is wrong. When using thinking skills, we need to reflect, we need to understand on why we have these possibilities. Why did they come up in the first place? They might have excellent ideas that if you're not using in that context, you could always apply to a different solution and you can use it. Fourthly, apply existing knowledge to generate new ideas and new products and processes. So it is very easy for us to Google everything and to understand it from Google. But by applying existing knowledge, we enrich our work further because our existing knowledge in topics such as science and humanities might help us in a project that we are doing. For example, in my personal project, the topics of design and science really came handy when I was creating my products. It is important, of course, because if you use your existing knowledge, your system or your product is going to be even better than if you just Googled it, because you have more understanding of what you are doing. Fifthly, apply skills and knowledge to new situations. This is very similar to the previous skill we talked about, yet this one is still different. This talks about new situations. Let's say you just change schools. You come to a new school and you see that the way that the teachers are teaching over there is not the way you like it. Of course, you cannot change them, but you can apply skills that you learned in your old school that will help you understand topics and subject matter better in the new school. This way, you are applying skills and knowledge that you already had and skills and knowledge that you will develop through the course of living in that school, and you will subsequently put them in new situations and properly understand them. So it is important for you to apply skills and knowledge in new situations because, of course, there are new situations and we need to apply these previously learned skills and knowledges so that we can properly deal with the situation at hand. Finally, combine knowledge, understanding, and skills to create products or solutions. So this is the basis of the personal project. The personal project asks you to combine knowledge from previous MYP programs. The personal project asks you to combine knowledge, understanding, and skills that you've learned in the previous MYP years and then to create a product and a system that's going to help you solve a problem that you choose to. That's going to help you attain your goal as well. So it is important for you to develop this skill, of course, because you want to be able to combine knowledge, understanding, and skills to create a product. You cannot just have knowledge and expect to be able to create a product that's of high quality. Same goes for understanding. You might understand a lot of concepts, and that would also deal with knowledge, but that does not mean you possess the skill to actually be able to make that system or to make that product. That is why you must have all these three parts, knowledge, understanding, as well as skills, to be able to create a product. You must combine them to have the best possible results for your project. To carry out this skill, you would simply need to take your knowledge from one part, your understanding. Knowledge and understanding could be linked if you like to, and your skills. You combine these two and you are going to have a very, very fantastic project. To wrap up, thinking skills are important in life. If you cannot critically think, if you cannot creatively think, if you cannot transfer your skills properly, you are not going to be able to deal with situations that require a lot of thinking. Let's say you are stuck on a problem that is not from school, it's not from chores, it's a real life problem. It's something like you have just been robbed, for example. You need to use the thinking skills that you have developed before and you need to use them in a proper manner so that you can deal with that situation. Let's say you've been robbed, like I said before. You could propose and evaluate various solutions. That's a very good skill to have. You can propose to go to the bank to ask for the money back. You could go for insurance. You could go and find the thief yourself. Many solutions. But you need to evaluate which solution is the best. You need to know what the pros and cons are. Let's say you go after the thief yourself. It's possible that you can get killed. It's possible that you could go to jail for harming the robber himself. And you could also get back your money. So those are the pros and cons. Let's say you go for insurance. They may tell you that the insurance is not valid because what happened was not a real case that they deal with. There might be complications. But the pro is also that you could get back your money. There are many other instances where you might need to use thinking skills, and this is just a small example. I hope that this session helped you to understand the thinking skills that I have developed before and during my personal project, and I hope that you can use them as well so that you can improve your own thinking skills to use in life. Thank you, and see you next time.